Now if your wheel has a center cap, go ahead and use your pry tool. I'm going to go ahead and pop off that center section. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove our lug nuts. Now go ahead and grab your wheel, remove that, and set it aside. Now if you have drum brakes here, you may have this little star on here holding the drum onto the axle. If you do not have these little retainer stars, it's not the end of the world. You can go ahead and simply remove these and discard them. You can use a pair of pliers or cutters. Now our brake drum is stuck in place, so we're going to go ahead and use a hammer and we're going to strike around the edge of the drum to try and loosen this up. Just using our pry bar, we're gently walking the drum off. On the inside of our drum, we actually have several pieces of rusted brake hardware. That's what was making our drum hard to take off. Our brakes were just all expanded and binding up on the drum. I'm going to go ahead and start with removing our lower components here. Remove the lower spring that is hooked through the back side of the side shoe, just using a pair of pliers. And this spring is pretty rusted. Pop that off. We're going to use our hammer here to work our adjuster off here. There would normally be a spring attached to this retainer pin right here holding our shoe in place. That is completely gone. Work our adjuster off here with the adjuster wheel. We'll go ahead and set that aside. And remove our spring right here. Here is one of our retainer springs. There should be a stud or pin that comes through the back holding this in place. That has since rusted and broken off. I'm going to go ahead and release our upper spring here. I'm just going to use a pair of pliers. Just go ahead and pop this off. On the back side, we have our e-brake shoe right there. Just going to disconnect that. Gonna remove our upper part there. Let's go ahead and clean up all around here with some spray and a brush. Go ahead and remove this piece here. Paying attention that the spring itself goes on the forward side. I'm going to go ahead and clean up our backing plate here. You want to take your adjuster here and we want to disassemble it. Unthread this whole unit here. I'm going to start with our threaded section and we're going to clean it. Just using your wire brush. Clean the threads on this side. Make sure that there's no chunks of rust or anything in there. This needs to be allowed to slide on the brake shoe itself. Same on this end here. Once you have this all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and spray it down. For reassembly, I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize inside the cap. Put some anti-seize on these threads here. I'm going to go ahead and thread this back together. Go ahead and clean this. You want to clean off on the insides of both sides here. These are going to be going onto the brake shoes themselves as well. Take your brake shoe, remove this component here. You want to separate this little cup from this bracket right here. So we went ahead and just got a large socket and we want to go ahead and tap this out. And go ahead and clean this up. I want to add some grease on the 6 contact points on our backing plate. These are going to be friction points for our brake shoes. And we just want a thin coating, nothing globby or anything heavy. And take our adjuster bar here with our spring base. Put that in place. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to take our pin, feed it through the hole in the backing plate. That'll come through our spring in place. retainer cap on. We want to line up the slot in the retainer cap with the tab on the end of our pin. Work that on and twist that cap so that holds the shoe on. Take your other brake shoe, install your spring base. Get your spring ready to go. Take your other pin, slide it through the backing plate. Let's go ahead and install our upper spring base right there. Install our e-brake retainer. Pop that up and on. Take this spring, and we're going to stretch that up and put it onto this hook here. And install our mid brace here. Line that up and slide it onto our shoe and the e-brake bracket on the back side. With that in place, I'm going to go ahead and install the other side on the forward shoe. Let's go ahead and install our forward spring. I'm going to go ahead and install our lower adjuster wheel here. Go ahead and try and get that locked into place. Install the forward spring through the back. Then we use our spring tool here. Go ahead and push it up and get that spring installed into the other shoe. Go ahead and install our spring here for our adjuster. Let's pop it into place. Now what we want to do is look around, make sure that everything is locked into place. Our springs, this one here is not hooked up, so I want to go ahead and go ahead and pay attention to that. Here we go. So now our adjuster is fully active, locked into place. Our springs are locked in. Correct spring in the correct location. Back brace with the spring. Both shoes are on the wheel cylinder and our spring is in place here. You also want to make sure of your placement of your brake shoes that are on the main backing plate and not in the groove on the outside ring. And we'll go ahead and install our drum. With our drum installed, we want to go ahead and move it back and forth. And what we're checking now for is making sure that our brake shoes are snugly fit up inside our brake drum. We'll go ahead and wiggle it left and right, and is almost perfectly set. Now, if you want to expand these out, you want to come down to the adjuster down below, and you can use a small pry bar or a pry tool and just adjust this wheel down here up or down, and this will cause the shoes to go out or come back in. Once you get your brake drum to be pretty snug like this is, you can go ahead and slide this on. Let's go ahead and open up our bleeder screw. This is going to allow our brake fluid to come through, fill up our wheel cylinder on the front side, and come out here. Once we see fluid coming out, we'll go ahead and tighten that back up. I can actually hear the air gurgling out of that port. And fluid should be coming out. And we'll go ahead and snug that down, wipe up our residual fluid. Let's go ahead and install our wheel here. I'm going to start all of the lug nuts by hand, and then we'll go ahead and snug those down. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 95 foot-pounds. Once we have those tightened down, I want to go ahead and take your center cap, line these up with the lug nuts, and pop that into place. So we went ahead and checked our brake fluid, and it seems to be right at that minimal location there, or that low level. What we're going to do is pump up our brakes. Brake pedal feels good. Now we're going to go ahead and open up that reservoir, and we're going to add fluid as necessary. Be sure to check the fluid and add the manufacturer specified fluid for your particular model vehicle. Install the cap, and snap that into place.